Picture a nation built on the promise of boundless opportunities and endless prosperity, where hard work and innovation are the only true means to craft a future of your inner desire. Now, open your eyes and look at the United States from any vantage point, be it in the media, on the BMT 4th Avenue line subway through downtown Brooklyn, or abroad, and reality strikes a dissonant chord. In simpler terms, it can be said that the United States has always been and continues to be the dominant economic force among developed nations. But the land of the free now finds itself stumbling and struggling to achieve its own lofty goals. How so, you may ask? I'll start by telling you this. The economic story of the United States is riddled with missed opportunities, systemic flaws, policy missteps, and widening inequality. Add to that the shifting global attitude towards American exceptionalism and rising tensions about the role of the United States dollar in international trade, and you have a perfect storm for the country's elite. But the United States is still the world's largest economy, and the US dollar is the leading global reserve currency. In fact, many commentators in the country's professional punditry circles are convinced about the perpetual dominance of the US dollar. For instance, let's meet Juhan Lee, lead producer of Markets and Politics at CNBC. He did an analysis in April 2022, concluding that the claims about the US dollar collapsing are anything but novel. In fact, warnings of the dollar's impending doom have been made since 1971, when the currency rose to its original global prominence. But Stephen Roach, a senior fellow at Yale's Jackson Institute for Global Affairs, countered the preface to Lee's analysis, saying, "We tend to think that nothing could ever dislodge the dollar from this preeminent status as the world's currency. I think that view is overblown and ultimately will be challenged." I'm not saying the dollar is the linchpin of the United States government's economic goals, although some want to support this line of thought. Instead, the crux of the matter is that much of what Americans are experiencing today is the product of unrealized economic goals. In other words, this video aims to shed light on the struggles faced by ordinary individuals living in America. Therefore, pull up a chair, because you may want to sit down for this one, and let's walk through the original promise of economic prosperity and the reasons for the government falling short. Also, you may want to stay to the end to learn a few tricks that may help cushion you and your loved ones from the adverse effects of what may come out of this whole misfortune. Please support our channel with a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. The original promise of economic prosperity. Here's an interesting fact to begin with. When proclaiming the birth of the United States of America, the Founding Fathers did not explicitly guarantee economic prosperity for every person who heard their proclamation. Nevertheless, they defined the economic principles that would lay the foundation for the following American century, or what many would call the 20th century. The four principles were property markets, free markets, sound money, and limited government. Although these principles did not define a specific contract between the government and the governed regarding economic welfare, in fact, the U.S. government does not define its economic goals by any single law or document. We can infer them from various sources, such as the Constitution, the budget, the strategic plan, and the policy statements of different agencies and officials. Based on these sources, some of the main economic goals of the U.S. government are the following. Maintaining stable prices. The government strives to uphold a steady and moderate rate of inflation, a crucial factor in preserving the value of currency and facilitating effective economic planning and decision-making. The Federal Reserve, serving as the central bank of the United States, is legally obligated to foster price stability, in addition to pursuing objectives such as attaining maximum employment and maintaining reasonable long-term interest rates. Ensuring full employment. For everyone willing and able to work, it is the government's mandate to ensure they can find a job at a fair wage. Again, this mandate falls on the Federal Reserve's shoulders. Promoting economic growth. The government pursues an increase in the productive capacity and output of the economy over time, which enhances living standards and well-being. To achieve this goal, investments are made in public goods and services that support economic growth, such as infrastructure, education, research and development, and national defense. Pursuing sustainable development. It defies logic to witness a surge in economic growth over a 5-year period, only to witness its sudden disappearance for the next 10 years. Hence, the government endeavors to strike a delicate equilibrium between economic progress, social welfare, and environmental preservation. This entails satisfying present-day needs while safeguarding the capacity of future generations to fulfill their own requirements. Fostering equitable distribution. Above all, the government holds a strong aspiration to ensure that each individual under their jurisdiction experiences the advantages as well as the drawbacks of economic endeavors. In pursuit of this objective, they employ fiscal policy measures such as taxation and expenditure to redistribute income and wealth. Additional strategies encompass establishing social safety nets and fostering avenues for opportunity and upward mobility. But what do the facts say? The facts on the ground tell a different story, which is that the U.S. is nowhere near achieving its economic goals. Before we explore these facts, we need to ask ourselves, how do we measure economic goals? Experts have done extensive research and arrived at the criteria for evaluating a government's performance regarding economic welfare. One of the most popular approaches for pursuing this objective is to define a country's economic goals as comprising three components: economic competitiveness, living standards, and democracy, and evaluating how the country performs in each aspect. Otherwise stated, examining how the United States performs in each of these three components should reveal why it is failing at its economic goals. Let's explore them one by one. Economic competitiveness. Securing a competitive position in the global economy has been a proven strategy for the United States to uphold stable prices for essential goods, achieve full employment, and foster sustainable economic growth. This entails the need for the U.S. to sustain or enhance its share of world trade and production, particularly in lucrative industries like manufacturing and technology. Regrettably, attaining this objective has become unfeasible. In fact, various analyses indicate that the U.S. has lost ground in these areas as other countries have become more efficient, innovative, and integrated into the global economy. For example, the last time the United States was ranked the best country in manufacturing output was in 2009. China has dominated the rankings since then. Additionally, World Bank data reveals the level of industrialization and diversification of the United States economy has fallen sharply since the turn of the new century. As per the data, the percentage of manufactured goods in the total value of goods exported from the country was 53% in 2022, compared to a historic peak of 83% in 1999. This decline is akin to the U.S. economy falling off a cliff in less than 25 years, which is the clearest sign that the country is failing at its economic goals. Living standards. For decades, one area where the United States has excelled is in providing its people with a higher standard of living, characterized by wealth, material goods, necessities, and overall comfort. The government shoulders a key responsibility in making these resources available. It achieves this by raising income levels, creating employment opportunities to ensure more individuals have money in their pockets, lowering the cost of living, improving the quality of education, enhancing access to quality healthcare, and establishing a safe and secure environment. However, you will be surprised just how far off the mark the U.S. is when you scratch the surface. In fact, Josh Bivens, the Economic Policy Institute's chief economist, insists that the U.S. economy is broken by design. In a seminal book, Failure by Design, Bivens critically analyzes the U.S. economy's performance and policies since the late 1970s. Bivens argues that the economic woes that culminated in the Great Recession of 2008 were not inevitable or accidental, but rather the result of deliberate policy choices that favored the wealthy and powerful over most Americans. The economist traces the origins of the economic crisis to the erosion of workers' bargaining power, the deregulation of financial markets, the neglect of public investment, the trade deficit, and the fiscal severity that hampered the recovery. And plenty of data supports Bivens. For example, the United Nations Human Development Index ranked the American living standards second worldwide behind Liechtenstein in 2000 with 0.87 points. 20 years later, the Human Development Index has stagnated at 0.87, and the standard of living for Americans is now ranked at number 21. Regrettably, the United States living standards receive a notably low rating, even in the rankings of the best countries to live in, which are established and regularly updated by U.S. News, an American news corporation. It ranks the United States at number 21, behind Portugal, Italy, Spain, and even Canada. Democracy. A country's political system and economy are like Siamese twins who share a heart. Both die when the heart stops beating. Simply put, Politics and economics are interrelated because economic performance is one of the key political backgrounds. Many economic issues are inherently political because they lend themselves to different opinions and values. For example, it takes the government to pursue sustainable development and foster equitable distribution of wealth. Since the Founding Fathers, the U.S. has wedded itself to a political system built on civic participation, civil rights, representative government, and above all, the rule of law. While this system helped propel the country to the great heights it achieved, the democratic quality is seriously declining, implying an implicit failure at economic goals. A joint study by the Brookings Institution and the state's United Democracy Center reached conclusions that should make every American's skin crawl. According to one finding, democracy means the rule of the people, but it seems government officials do not fully agree about who belongs to the people. The report also admits that the United States has fallen into the grip of populists, nationalists, extremists, foreign interference, and corruption. All these are the precursors to a failed democracy. If this political system crumbles, there is no hope that the U.S. will achieve its economic goals. Never in a million years. The bottom line. Suppose the U.S. economy's competitiveness continues on the current path, the living standards keep stagnating or even begin falling, and democracy erodes further. In that case, it will no longer be about failing at economic goals. Instead, the worry will now shift to whether the U.S. will continue to exist as Americans know it. I understand that this information may be alarming, and it should be, as failing to recognize its significance can leave you unprepared for the inevitable. So how can you prepare for the adverse effects of the U.S. falling to achieve its economic goals? Increase your awareness of what is happening and why, and participate in the democratic process. Reduce exposure to the economic risks or uncertainties caused by the government's actions or inactions. This means diversifying your sources of income and wealth. Save and budget wisely. Try to set aside a portion of your income for an emergency fund, with the goal to cover your essential expenses for at least 3 to 6 months in case of a job loss, a health crisis, or a natural disaster. Wrapping up. If you have reached this far, consider yourself informed and more prepared to face any uncertainties that may come your way. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. And watch this one as well.